Senator Steadman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And colleagues, I rise in support of House Bill 1345. And I just want to note for the record that I think this is one of those good old-fashioned school finance acts. And it's one that I hope we all feel a certain amount of accomplishment with, because for the first time in several years, we are actually increasing total program spending. This bill contains an appropriation of $57 million to pay for growth in student enrollment in the upcoming school year. That's the first time we've paid for student growth in 3 years. That's a good thing. There is a lot that you can say about this bill that leads right back to the fact we're in a recovering economy and state tax revenues are starting to return. And because of that, we're no longer making cuts to our School Finance Act. Now, that said, we are not really paying for inflation as the Constitution would require, and over the course of the past 3 years, we have built a $1 billion negative factor into the School Finance Act. That's a billion with a B. That's a pretty deep hole we have dug in our school funding that we someday are going to have to climb our way out of. And yet, with this bill and the $57 million to at least pay for enrollment growth this year, we have turned a corner and we're starting to do something right for our public education system. Now, the other reason I call this a good old-fashioned School Finance Act is it also has a couple little slices of heaven for the bill sponsors, which gets us back to the way the school finance used to always work through this building. And if you note, the bill came over from the House with a $1 million appropriation to increase charter school capital construction funding. Good for them. The bill came over for the House with $1.3 million appropriation for the BOCES Regional Services Cooperatives. Good for them. The bill came over from the House with an extra $500,000 to backfill a cut to the School Counselor Corps grant program. Good for them. And on this side of the chamber, on this side of the legislature, when the bill got to the Senate, we solved a very perplexing and nagging problem about at-risk funding and a fair way to apportion at-risk funding. And Senator Bacon worked on this in the Education Committee. I gave him a little help in the Appropriation Committee to make sure we did it the right way. And that is something that costs $3.8 million, and yet it corrects a very serious inequity in the allocation of at-risk funding in our school finance formula. Good for us. And now Senator Johnston has added $3 million so that we can, for the first time, I think, start providing equipment as a state to our local school districts if they want it. $3 million for this piece of equipment and maybe the software and support agreements and some training and things that go with it. We're larding up this bill a little bit, and good for us, because that's the way the School Finance Act has worked, and it's starting to feel like we're back on our feet and back getting to the way that, that this has worked over the years. And I'm very happy to have had a small part in it, and I would hope that you will join me in voting for this bill and feel good about it.